To put things into perspective, where are we at this point? We're at the myopathies. Look where we are. So we've come out of the anterior horn, the motor, we've walked through the peripheral neuropathies, we've walked through neuromuscular junction diseases, and now we're looking at myopathies. Skeletal muscle disorders, myopathy. Myopathy is non-specific. What does it mean? It just means disease of the skeletal muscle. You be very, very specific about the definition here, please. Versus dystrophy. We'll get into muscular dystrophy. What does that mean to you? Hereditary. Under hereditary, we'll then walk into, obviously, Duchenne, and we'll also take a look at Becker muscular dystrophy. And I will tell you, though, it doesn't always have to be associated with the dystrophin gene. It could be, and that's where our focus shall be. But to be technical, it doesn't have to be. But hereditary is important. Myositis. What does that mean? It means that the muscle is undergoing an inflammatory process. Allow the name to speak to you. Itis. Skeletal muscle disorders. We'll walk through muscular dystrophy. Channelopathy is important for us. Mitochondrial myopathy. You've heard of MELAS. If you haven't, it's okay. I'll walk you through it. Distal myopathies, inflammatory myopathies, and finally we end by looking at our endocrine, drug, and toxic myopathies. Just a few words there. Let's begin. Under muscular dystrophy, we'll take a look at dystrophinopathies. Under dystrophinopathies, we have Duchenne, DMD, muscular dystrophy. We'll talk about that in great detail. Becker, muscular dystrophy. We'll talk about that in great detail. These are dystrophies. What does that mean to you? Hereditary. Limb-girdle muscular dystrophy has taken on quite a bit of prominence, so therefore I must discuss it. And then finally, myotonic dystrophy. As rare as it may be, once again, it appears, trust me, on your wards and the boards. So, good stuff to come. Let's go. Under dystrophinopathies, how do we begin in general? Proximal weakness, including neck flexors. Usually, we'll spare the ocular and bulbar. Pseudohypertrophy of the calf. What the heck does that even mean? It means that you're going to develop or accumulate, look, think about where you are, your lovely calves, okay? It looks big. Woo, that's sexy. But what's going on? It's not muscle. It's pseudohypertrophy. What the heck is filling it up? Fibrofat. Okay? Fibrofatty changes. Pseudohypertrophy. It's a lot worse than we think. I'm being a little silly there, but seriously, this is no joke for the patient. Gower's sign. With these dystrophinopathies, especially Duchenne, we have a patient that is not even able to get up by himself. And so therefore they have to do what? Climb up their legs. They have to climb up their legs or with using their arms. It's called Gower's sign. And relentlessly progressive. So we'll have to talk about that dystrophin gene, won't we? Because it is the anchor for your skeletal muscle. Associated cardiomyopathy, that is a huge point. At some point in time, if you lose your dystrophin, not only are you going to lose the ability to conduct yourself in your skeletal muscle, but the heart muscle is also going to be affected. So you'll have cardiomyopathy, no doubt. And unfortunately, respiratory insufficiency may lead to ultimately the death to your patient. But cardiomyopathy is right up there, isn't it? Under dystrophinopathies, so both DMD, which is Duchenne, and Becker, muscular dystrophy, are due to different mutations of the dystrophin gene. That's the only thing that they have in common. Is that clear? The only thing that they have in common is that it's a defect in the dystrophin gene. It's on the X chromosome. X-linked recessive. Labs marked elevated creatine kinase, as you can imagine, because the muscle is involved, and can be diagnosed with genetic testing to forego the muscle biopsy. And that's important. So if you're suspecting high suspicion of your dystrophinopathy, either Duchenne or Becker, then you can forego the muscle biopsy, which is always nice. But genetically, it'll tell you what's going on. X-linked recessive, but then please understand, Duchenne will be more or less your frame shift type of mutation that you've talked about in genetics. So there's absolutely no dystrophin. There's absolutely no dystrophin. So therefore, with Duchenne, your patient is going to present extremely young. By the time your patient is 15, 18, 20, he is already, why do I say he? Take a look at the inheritance pattern. X-linked recessive, right? The male has one X, and if that X is diseased, boom, the man has it, or the young adult has it. And by the time he is 18 or 20, wheelchair bound. Treatment, management is going to be supportive only. And if you take a look at the Mendelian type of inheritance in the schematic, you'll notice here that X-linked recessive, we have the male that is going to be affected quite a bit. In order for the female, obviously both X's have to be affected, and then you can be a trait, obviously, in a female.